All right, let's get into it. Today we're building a kind of field guide, a survival kit for navigating the really messy world of bad arguments. This is all about giving you the tools to spot flawed reasoning so you can handle any debate with a little more confidence and a lot more clarity.
You know that feeling, right? You're just scrolling online or maybe watching some debate on TV and you just get tired. It feels like you're drowning in this sea of people just yelling at each other, but nobody's really making a solid point. It's just exhausting.
The source material for this explainer puts it perfectly. It calls this a map for all those awful arguments. And that's such a great way to think about it, because this chaos, it's not totally random. There are patterns to bad reasoning, and once you have the map, you're a lot less likely to get lost. Okay, so if we have a map to get through this jungle of bad arguments, then we're going to need a compass, right? And that compass, that true north, is understanding a really key concept: the logical fallacy. And here it is. Now, don't let the fancy name scare you. A logical fallacy is really just a common mistake in thinking. It's an argument that sounds like it makes sense on the surface, but if you look under the hood, there's a big, critical flaw. They're like mental shortcuts that always lead you to a dead end. Now, it turns out these fallacies come in a couple of different flavors. You've got your formal fallacies, which are all about the structure, kind of like a math problem that's just set up all wrong. But what we're going to focus on are the informal fallacies. And as you can see here, that's because the error is in the content, the stuff people are actually saying. And trust me, these are absolutely everywhere. All right, enough theory. Let's get practical. It's time to fire up what our source calls the baloney detector. We're going to take a look at 3 of the most common fallacies you're pretty much guaranteed to run into out in the wild. First up, we've got a true classic. This is probably the one you see 100 times a day online, the ad hominem attack. So what is it? Well, the name literally means to the person. And that's the whole move right there. Instead of dealing with someone's idea or their argument, you just attack them personally. You go after their character, their job, anything but the actual point they're trying to make. It's a total distraction. And this example just nails it. See what's happening? The argument completely sidesteps whether the diet is healthy or not. It just says, hey, you're a baker, so we're not even going to listen to you. But does being a baker automatically mean you can't present a valid argument about health? Of course not. The ad hominem just shuts down the conversation. Okay, our next fallacy is a little bit sneakier, but it is just as misleading. It's called the straw man. I love this analogy. Think about it. What's easier to knock over, a real person or a scarecrow stuffed with straw? The scarecrow, right? Well, that's exactly what this fallacy does to an argument. You take what someone actually said, twist it into a weaker, dumber, exaggerated version, and then you look like a hero for knocking down that flimsy version you just made up. I mean, this is a perfect, almost funny example of how it works. Person A states a totally harmless preference, and watch what person B does. They blow it up into this ridiculous, extreme position. Person B isn't arguing against "I prefer sunny days" anymore. They're fighting a straw man that they just built themselves. All right, for our last stop on this field guide, let's talk about the false dilemma. This is the fallacy of you're with us or against us. This tactic is all about trying to back you into a corner. It presents a really complex issue as if there are only 2 possible options: black or white, yes or no. It just completely erases all the nuance, all the middle ground, all the other possibilities that almost always exist. And you hear this kind of thing all the time, right? The message is clear, there's no room for discussion. You can't possibly support the idea of progress, but have some questions about this specific plan. It's a setup. It forces an extreme choice, when the reality is that there's a whole spectrum of valid opinions in between. So we've spotted a few different kinds of baloney: the ad hominem, the straw man, the false dilemma. But so what? Why does this actually matter? Why should you even care about any of this? Well, because this is so much more than just a way to win arguments. It's a toolkit for thinking better, period. Remember that feeling of being exhausted by all the shouting? This is the cure. When you can spot a fallacy, you're way less likely to get fooled or manipulated. You can actually have better, more productive conversations. And, maybe most importantly, it forces you to look at your own thinking, which helps make your own arguments that much stronger. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Learning to spot bad arguments isn't about becoming cynical or nitpicky. It's about being discerning. It's about clearing out all the noise so there's actually room for a real, honest conversation.
So, what do you think? What would our world look like if we all tried to argue a little less and reason a little more?